Hello, and thank you for taking a few minutes to watch our GFN5. Japan is one of the few countries that regulates cigarettes and heated tobacco products as distinct categories when it comes to indoor public use. In this study, we examined airborne nicotine levels in catering venues with designated heated tobacco use areas. In Japan, under the Revised Health Promotion Act of 2018, both cigarette and heated tobacco products can be used in certain catering venues but under very different rules. Heated tobacco products are allowed in designated areas where food and drinks are served, while cigarettes are restricted to separate booths where no food or drinks are provided. To protect customers and employees from exposure, these spaces must meet strict design and ventilation requirements. This raises a simple question: does allowing heated tobacco product use in these spaces meaningfully increase occupational exposure for employees? To answer this question, we measured airborne nicotine as a marker of heated tobacco product emissions. Although nicotine is not the primary cause of smoking-related diseases, it is a nearly unique signature of tobacco and nicotine product use, and it can be measured with high sensitivity. The study was conducted in 6 catering venues in Tokyo. Each venue had 2 distinct spaces. 1, a non-smoking area, and 2, a heated tobacco use area. In 3 venues, cigarette smoking booths were also present, located inside the heated tobacco use area. We assessed exposure in 2 complementary ways. We conducted area monitoring, using static air samplers placed in each room, and we also measured personal exposure, using wearable samplers positioned in the breathing zone of waitstaff during their shift. In total, more than 150 samples were collected, covering real-life use conditions of heated tobacco products. Before we look at the results, let me briefly explain how Japanese authorities judge whether workplace air is acceptable. Japan doesn't have its own occupational exposure limit for nicotine, so it borrows the US expert limit. For nicotine, that limit is 500 micrograms per cubic meter. That's the red line on the chart. Because people don't breathe the same air every minute and working days can vary in length, the measurements are turned into 8-hour averages for a typical workday. Then 2 numbers are examined, the average and a high-end statistical parameter called X95. Think of X95 as a safety check. It's the level we'd expect to cover almost all situations, even on the busiest days. It's a safety margin representing 95% of the data under a possible worst-case scenario. We compare those 2 numbers to the occupational exposure limit or a fraction of it to give the workplace a rating called a control class. Class 3 is the worst rating. Both the average and X95 are above the limit. Class 2 is in the middle rating. The average is below the limit, but X95 might still exceed it sometimes. Class 1 is the best rating. The safety margin X95 stays below the occupational exposure limit. Within Class 1, the subcategories range from 1C to 1A and represent progressively lower levels of workplace exposure, with 1A indicating the most favorable workplace conditions. Across all 6 venues, airborne nicotine levels in non-smoking areas were very low, generally below the limit of detection. Only 1 venue showed slightly elevated values, most likely due to ventilation backflow from the cigarette smoking booth. In heated tobacco use areas, nicotine levels ranged from 0.24 to 2.16 micrograms per cubic meter, which is well below the 1% of the occupational exposure limit. All measured values were also far below 5 micrograms per cubic meter, the threshold used to define control class 1A, indicating excellent working conditions in the Japanese occupational health framework. Statistical modeling showed the probability of exceeding the 5 microgram threshold in similar real-life conditions was very low, only 0.7%. Let's now look at personal exposure. This is the preferred sampling technique for occupational exposure assessment, because it reflects what employees actually inhale during their workday. The personal exposure results closely mirrored the area monitoring findings. Across all venues, the 8-hour time-weighted average exposures were far below 1% of the occupational exposure limit. As a result, every venue, regardless of the layout or design, met the classification of Control Class 1A, the most favorable category under Japanese occupational exposure guidelines. To conclude, this study shows that in Japanese catering venues with designated heated tobacco use areas, airborne nicotine levels were low, well under 1% of the occupational exposure limit. Based on airborne and personal exposure measurements, all evaluated workplaces were classified as Control Class 1A, indicating very low occupational exposure to nicotine used as a proxy for heated tobacco products emissions. These favorable workplace conditions reflect the effectiveness of technical measures in place, particularly the separation of all areas, no provision of food or drinks in smoking booths, and effective ventilation. This study can help inform ongoing discussions about heated tobacco use in indoor public spaces and how to design environments that both protect employees and support adults who switch from cigarettes to smoke-free alternatives with lower environmental impact. Full details of the study are available in our paper published in the journal shown on the screen. Thank you for your attention. To learn more about PMI's scientific research, please visit pmiscience.com.